There's something both mysterious and comforting about the paths animals make for themselves in the wild. Maybe it's a snow-covered trail with fresh tracks etched in overnight, or a well-worn line where the grass has long given way to the bare dirt. These animal highways aren't random. They're chosen, followed, and passed down, routes through the woods that offer safety, familiarity, and maybe even tradition. Over time, I've come to recognize these trails and the creatures who walk them. Some follow a predictable loop, and others pass through only now and then. But through the lens of my trail cameras, a whole hidden world has come into view, and one that most people walk past without ever knowing it's there. I'll admit, trail camera work isn't glamorous, but after placing the cameras, leaving them for a while, then swap out the SD cards, bring them back, sort through the footage, and edit out the empty clips where only leaves danced in the wind and find those special moments. But each camera is like a little window into the life of the forest, and checking them has become one of my favorite routines. I get to witness the secret life of wildlife, unfiltered, unscripted, and full of subtle surprises. Even after doing this, I still feel a spark of anticipation when I click open a new folder of video clips. What might I see this time? What makes this hobby truly special are the animals themselves, the personalities that emerge when you observe them long enough. Watching the two deer move together in silence through the swampy grass, deliberate and cautious. The buck still has just one antler. Then there's the raven, bold and theatrical, strutting around like the king of the woods, picking around the ground with purpose. Their routines become familiar, almost comforting. I find myself rooting for them, wondering where they go when they leave the camera's frame. The possum even comes to get a drink. This has become a popular place. Glad we've had plenty of rain lately. The turkeys have returned recently. It made me smile to see them again. Part of me wonders if they're the same flock from last fall. Do they remember this place, or is it simply part of their inherited map, a stop on their seasonal journey? Two raccoons made their way through the swampy area, stopping to drink before moving on. Spring brings a new sense of excitement. I haven't made it through all the footage yet, but I will. I'm especially eager to spot any newborns, tiny, clumsy steps through the brush, curious glances at the world they're just beginning to explore. I can't wait. Nearby, a narrow stream trickles. It may not look like much, but it draws everyone eventually. Deer, raccoons, foxes, even the cats all find their way to its edge. It's a gathering place, a quiet lifeline. But like all things in nature, it can also be risky. Predators could be watching, and even raccoons move with caution when they approach. Now the landscape's changing fast. The trees are dressing themselves in a leafy green, and the ground's shifting from brown to vibrant, as if the whole forest took a breath and came back to life overnight. It's a beautiful time, sudden, lush, and full of potential. It's getting there. The same place that the raccoons and everyone else pass through is the same place that the cat's gonna sit and watch and wait for something to come. A raccoon pauses, raising up on its tiny hind paws. It stands still, eyes scanning the woods, nose twitching, ears alert. For a moment, it's observing, listening, deciding if the path ahead is safe. You can feel the tension in its stance, the instinct that tells it to be careful, even when nothing seems immediately wrong. Quiet vigilance is part of survival out there, and it's moments like this, so small, so full of meaning, that makes these glimpses into the wild feel so personal. Every time I review the footage, I'm reminded why I started all of this. There's peace in watching these quiet lives unfold. There's wonder in the smallest moments. A fox darting across the trail, A deer pausing mid-step to listen. A bird landing for just a heartbeat before taking off again. The forest doesn't speak in words, but it tells stories every day, and through my cameras, I get to listen. I love checking in on my little corner of the woods and seeing what my wildlife neighbors are up to. The cats, ever so careful and deliberate, maneuver across the soaked outdoors floor, stepping lightly to avoid the wettest spots. They're not fond of muddy paws, and I can almost see their distaste when they hit a puddle they hadn't expected. Some of them are curious, climbing trees, stopping often to observe what's happening around them. You can tell these woods are just as much as theirs as they are the deer's or raccoons. Cats don't just follow one schedule. They appear both during the day and at night. Once, it was a rare treat to snap a photo of a deer in the field with a handheld camera. You had to be quiet, still, and above all, lucky. And lucky to find them. But with trail cameras, you get so much more. I see how the deer behave when they think no one's watching, how they interact, play, even pause to look at the camera as if they know it's there. Even though the camera's been sitting there for a long time, the deer walks on by, but the coyote decides not to. I've come to recognize individuals, like the raccoon with the L-shaped tail, who always seems to waddle with a hint of swagger. Another has unusually slender paws and moves with careful, almost dainty steps. A sign of spring is something you hear. The spring peepers have started their nightly chorus, filling the air with their high, rhythmic calls. That steady rise and fall of sound is like nature's announcement. The woods are waking up. Even before the trees are fully green or the wildflowers begin to bloom, the peepers remind us that the season is shifting. Their voices echo through the woods, mingling with the rustle of leaves and distant movement, setting the scene for the new life that's just beginning to emerge. Okay, did you just catch how fast those raccoons were running? And that deer sure has a mouthful. And we pause for a rather unexpected reason. A deer needs to relieve itself. It was such an ordinary moment, and yet it made me smile. Out here, everything's natural, unfiltered. Life in the woods doesn't rush or hide. It simply unfolds, moment by moment, whether it's a graceful, surprising, or just a little amusing. Then there's an occasional fox or coyote, rare and thrilling sightings. Now you can see the woods are starting to turn green. Raccoons are mostly nocturnal, and you won't usually spot them during the day. It's always fascinating to see how many different animals pass through the very same stretch of woods. The raccoons, the curious cats, and now, caught just days apart, the coyote and the fox. They each move through that narrow corridor of trees as if it was a known trail, a passage shared by many but claimed by none. It's a reminder that even though their habits and hours may differ, these animals all navigate the same wild path, drawn to the same quiet places. You begin to see the forest not as divided territories, but as a layered community, with lives overlapping in ways you'd never guess until you were watching. But at night, they come alive on screen, digging, exploring, and sometimes even tumbling with each other like children. It's a glimpse into the world that most people never see, and I feel privileged to get to be part of it. And I like to be able to share it too. As the deer travel in a group, they move together, keeping pace as they slip between the trees. There's a calmness in the way they move together, each one aware of the others, just another part of the rhythm of the woods. A fox wandered through, quiet, graceful, and full of purpose. It paused briefly near a tree and gave a quick glance around, then lifted its leg and marked the spot. Just like that, it was on its way again. Territory claimed, message sent. These woods may seem peaceful, but there's a quiet conversation happening all the time, written in scents and signs we rarely get to witness. It's moments like this it reminds me how alive the woods really are. Watching the raccoons, fox, and coyote in the twilight, adding to the ever-moving, ever-watching rhythm of the woods. Even a woodpecker makes an appearance, bouncing up the tree, eating as it goes, vanishing up the tree. The cat's nearby, climbing the tree just like the woodpecker. There's a certain tree the raccoon stops at and digs its little feet back and forth into the earth at the base before moving on. I didn't know raccoons could run that fast. What startled them? Were they playing? Or running from something unseen? These glimpses feel like scenes from a story I get to watch unfold, one frame at a time. The forest comes alive in ways most people never see, and thanks to my cameras, I get a front row seat. I'm sure that felt pretty good. You have just watched a Jill Garbart Outdoors video on YouTube. Thank you.